Original post, July 3, 2015. My brother is blind, has been since birth, and he lives with me. Not that he needs someone to take care of him, just living with me makes his life much easier and I like it this way. He is pretty independent and has a great job and a great future. I'm proud of him big time. Last month we went to visit our parents back in our home country. We live in Europe, but we are from East Asia. My boyfriend is from here. So on the way back, my parents filled our luggage with stuff, gifts, food, etc. At the airport, we had to pay some excess baggage charges. Last night I was at my boyfriend's parents', and I was chatting with his parents and sister. My boyfriend wasn't in the room when these all happened, so he didn't see anything firsthand. They asked about my trip and all. I said it was all good except that we had to pay a lot for excess baggage which was unexpected. She started laughing which made everyone wonder. My boyfriend's dad asked what's so funny? She said that she just can't stop appreciating the irony that excess baggage had to pay for excess baggage. I didn't get it at first, nobody did, but she clarified that your brother is like excess baggage on you. You took him on a trip and had to pay excess baggage on the excess baggage as well. It's like double dipping, just the other way around. I wanted to punch her in the face but restrained myself, just told her that she's a piece of crap, apologized to the sister and dad and came out. Texted my boyfriend that I had to leave and we'll talk tomorrow. He came out and we talked a bit about what happened. He offered to go back in there and try to sort things out, but I refused. I told him that he'd heard my side, so go in there and hear them out as well and we'll talk about it again tomorrow. We haven't talked since, but we will tonight. I don't know where do we go from here and need ideas. Knowing him, I guess he will suggest some way to sort things out and make peace, but I don't think I'd want that even if she agrees to apologize. Edit, she just posted a Facebook status update saying, my son's girlfriend called me a piece of crap because she disagreed with how I described what happened on a trip. Edit 2, my brother and I went to visit our parents. My boyfriend didn't come with us. It wasn't like my brother tagged along on a trip that I took with my boyfriend. TLDR, boyfriend's mom called my blind brother who lives with me excess baggage. I called her a piece of crap and left their house and gave my boyfriend time to hear everyone and think. Not sure where we go from here. Relevant comments. Comment 1. Forgive my cultural stupidity if I am wrong, and please correct me if I am, but isn't it very common in Asian culture for the children to take on the role of total caregiver to their parents as they age? So if that's the case, what will that make her eventually? OP. She isn't Asian. I am. My boyfriend's family are European. Update 1, July 4, 2015, next day. Okay, this isn't good. In case you missed it, yesterday she posted a message on Facebook. So I talked to my boyfriend last night. He acted as I suspected he will. He suggested that it was a moment of madness. She started it and I responded. We're both at fault and we can both apologize and move on from this. Sorry no way after her post on Facebook. We had a long discussion. He doesn't want to take a side. All of these are beside the fact that she doesn't even want to apologize. I'm very disappointed in him. His dad called me yesterday as well, apologized for the mom's comment, and said that she wasn't speaking on behalf of everyone there and that they found her comments to be very inconsiderate as well. I also apologized to the dad for the way I reacted, but he said it wasn't necessary. His sister called as well. She said it's not the first time she's making comments like that about disabled people, and she said she's ashamed. I decided not to engage in a social media piss war and stayed out, but while the mom's friends were commenting like, the young don't know respect these days, the sister commented that, Mom, you left out what you said to her first, kind of proving her point. Please put this down and stop. A few hours later the post was gone. So yeah, I'm disappointed in my boyfriend. If he had the balls of his sister, he'd have been great, but sadly he doesn't. His dad and sister stood up to the mom and he didn't. I never make a decision impulsively, so I didn't break up with him, although I'm leaning towards that decision. I just need to think and any advice on this is also very welcome. TLDR, his dad and sister took my side and apologized for her behavior. Boyfriend doesn't want to take a side. I'm disappointed. Relevant comments. Comment 1. In that case, I think you explained to him in no uncertain terms how much his mother hurt you and how much he hurt you by not sticking up for you. Let him know that when he said nothing, it was as good as agreeing with her. Maybe, just maybe, he'll see where he's gone wrong and change, but if not, I guess you have your answer. His reaction to this doesn't seem so much about keeping the peace as being scared to stand up to someone. There's a big difference between those two things. Keeping the peace would have been, Mom, come on, that's out of line and you know it. Apologize so we can all get past this. Not silence. OP. I have done that. He says, I see what you're getting at, but to make things right you both need to get together and agree that this was a moment of madness and won't happen again. Story 2, Am I the asshole for calling my father's wife a creep? Original post, February 26, 2024. My 32 female, father 60s, has been married to Sasha, fake name, 40s, for almost a decade. I was already an adult when they started seeing each other, so I never had much of a relationship with her. That said, Sasha was nice and thoughtful, though a bit annoying at times, and I never had any problems with her. I now have a husband, 34 male, and 2 kids, 9 male, and 4 female. Sasha is very fond of my children, especially my daughter. That became very suffocating pretty quickly, so we started setting some boundaries. She never overstepped them. In January, my father and Sasha decided to go on a trip to Disney World, and invited us to join them. We decided to go to celebrate our son's 9th birthday. I quickly regretted coming along. Sasha spent the entire trip fussing over my daughter in ways that overstepped almost every boundary we'd set. Examples include: Sasha bought a mini ears tiara. She wanted me to buy my daughter an identical one so they could match. My daughter didn't like the tiara, so I bought her a Donald Duck hat instead. Sasha got her the tiara anyway, and was upset that she didn't want to wear it. My father and Sasha went shopping in between parks. I told them not to buy my kids anything, as we still had shopping to do and didn't want to risk making our bags too heavy. Still, Sasha returned with 5 bags of clothing for my daughter, and 2 for my son, saying she couldn't resist it. My daughter wanted a Belle costume to wear at the parks, as that's her favorite princess. Sasha tried to convince us to get her an Ariel costume instead, because that's her favorite. I explained that we never watched The Little Mermaid at home because my daughter is scared of Ursula. Sasha insisted on taking dozens of pictures with my daughter in front of the castle at Magic Kingdom. She also took some with my son, but not nearly as many. When we took our daughter to Slinky Dog Dash, her first roller coaster, Sasha tried to sit next to her. My daughter wanted to sit with me, so we switched. She tried to do the same thing in other attractions. At the Muppets Theater, she tried to get my daughter to sit in her lap. Sasha also tried to pick her up while we met some of the characters. There were more instances. The final straw for me, however, was the last park day of the trip. We were at Magic Kingdom. My husband suffered a minor injury and I had to take him to the first aid station. The kids wanted to go to the Peter Pan ride, so my dad and Sasha offered to take them in the meantime. However, according to my father, the line was too long. So instead, Sasha suggested the Little Mermaid ride, assuring my kids Ursula wasn't on it. Actually, there's a pretty big Ursula animatronic there. My daughter was still sobbing and hugging her brother when we reunited. When we flew back home, I told my father that we'd no longer take our children on trips with Sasha due to her behavior. He got extremely angry. He said his wife loved my kids, thought about what they'd like to do at every moment of the trip, and that we should be grateful to have her in our lives. I lost my temper at that. I told him Sasha was a creep, and that they should be grateful I was still okay with them even seeing my children after her actions during the trip. We ended up having a huge fight after that. It's been weeks since we returned home, and my father is still angry at me and my husband. Sasha has texted me a few times. She says she's sorry if she made me uncomfortable, but that she loves my kids and hoped to use the trip to spend more time with them. To be honest, I don't think I'm the asshole here. But I do think I might have overreacted. I believe there's a chance Sasha's actions were motivated by love, and she truly did have good intentions. Am I the asshole? Relevant comments. Comment 1. You're not the asshole because you have your children's best interests at heart. But it may benefit you and your dad's relationship to understand why Sasha is like she is. Overstepping boundaries is easier for someone when they believe it's for a good cause or to have fun in a safe way. Does she have kids of her own? Can she not have kids of her own? Does she maybe see the kids as her grandkids? It's a difficult one, but getting to the source of that could make the whole thing healthier. But on the other hand, it's not your job to put that work in when it's your father's relationship. All I'd suggest you do is explain to your father you set boundaries and regardless of intention, Sasha broke them, which you do not condone. Good luck. OP, Sasha doesn't have children of her own. My father has me and my sister, and has always been open about not wanting more kids. They're married, so I'm assuming she doesn't want kids either. I also don't think she sees my kids as grandchildren. She's always referred to herself as Aunt Sasha instead. When I got pregnant with my son, she commented she was too young to be a grandma. Comment 2, not the asshole, you set some pretty clear boundaries that Sasha kept crossing the entire trip. Even your daughter seems to not be particularly receptive towards her. Also, your son can probably pick up on this favoritism, and that's not good for him either. I don't mean to do armchair psychology, but this reads like Sasha has always wanted a young daughter and is using yours to live vicariously through. Hence why she kept trying to push things that your daughter doesn't like onto her. OP, my son doesn't like Sasha. I'm not sure why, but I think he gets that she favors my daughter. He's also very protective of his sister, so her discomfort could also be a reason. Comment 3, she sounds exhausting. But, she also doesn't seem like a truly awful person. So, we started setting some boundaries. She never overstepped them. Question, does she have children of her own? She probably sees your kids as a chance to play mommy if she's never had kids. She may not even be aware of exactly how intrusive she's being. Looks like there's a 20-year age gap between her and your dad. She probably thought she'd be okay with not having kids. I'm guessing your dad may have told her he's done having babies. But your little ones, especially your daughter, may have just stirred up those feelings and she's trying to compensate. I still don't think you're the asshole. But maybe have an honest talk with her, just you and her, and try and show a little grace. My apologies if you've done all that already and she's still being a pill. OP, you're right about a lot of things. She doesn't have kids, my dad doesn't want more children. And while she's defined herself as child-free before, she's also told me she'd always wondered what having a daughter would be like. My husband and I started setting boundaries because the situation was really bad when my daughter was younger. She'd wake her up from her naps when she visited, post pictures of her on social media without our approval, and complain about almost every parenting decision we'd make because it wasn't how she'd do it. Update 1, March 4, 2024. Hey, everyone. I'm ready to give you an update. I read your comments and came to the following conclusion: as much as Sasha's behavior toward my children angered me and freaked me out, calling her a creep was the wrong reaction to have. That said, I think it's best for my family to distance itself from Sasha for the time being. And at the very least, my previous decision to avoid future trips with her based on the Disney trip is still the best course of action. Sasha's pushiness, tendency to override me and my husband's parenting, and blatant favoritism towards my daughter were much worse when the kids were younger. After my daughter's birth, she began to focus too much attention on her and almost none on my son. I gave more examples of that in the comments on my original post. That's the reason we set boundaries in the first place. The way she fusses over my daughter also bothers me. When we had the boundary conversation with my father and Sasha, she told us that she'd always wondered what having a daughter would be like. She'd also defined herself as child-free before, so I was never certain what to think of that. Either way, that reassured me and my husband that we were doing the best for our kids. Those boundaries were never overstepped. Then we went on the Disney trip, and most of them were completely ignored. Many of you pointed out that she might have gotten carried away, or that Disney is exciting, and she wanted to make sure my kids had the best experience, etc. There are two things I'll say to that. The first is that whatever Sasha's reasons were, she still overstepped our boundaries. When we first set those, we told her that doing so would have consequences. Disney or not, I don't see a reason to make an exception. Secondly, she wasn't trying to ensure my kids had the best experience. She was pushing them to fulfill her fantasy of what their Disney trip should look like. She repeatedly ignored my children's wishes in favor of her own, despite them both being very clear about what they wanted and didn't want. Sasha also continually favored my daughter, including during my son's birthday, and fussed over her in ways that made her uncomfortable. And I still haven't forgiven the Little Mermaid thing. My daughter is a bit shy and takes a while to open up to most people, so knowing her trust was broken like that angers me in ways I can't describe. To put it in simpler terms, my children aren't props. And whoever treats them as such will, at the very least, be put in timeout. I called my father and Sasha on Saturday. I apologized for calling Sasha a creep, but told them that we needed some time apart. They won't see my family until my younger sister's birthday in late April. If that goes well, they'll be invited to my daughter's 5th birthday party in May. After that, we'll slowly work on re-establishing contact. I also said that if they overstepped our boundaries again, the consequences would be more dire. My father didn't take it well. I don't care. Sasha sent me a text with more apologies, followed by a request to at least FaceTime my kids every now and then. I said no. And to those who said my controlling behavior ruined the trip, my kids had an amazing time at Disney World. They're both still talking about it. My daughter keeps asking us to put her pictures with the characters she met up on the wall, and my son says he had the best birthday ever. I think that's it. Thank you for your advice and support on my first post. Relevant comments. Comment 1, You protected your children, and that's the best thing you can do in any situation. I'm glad they're still talking about the trip, despite favoritism and the Ursula animatronic, which means you and your husband managed to outshine all of it with wonderful memories. For the possible reconciliation, everyone can act normal for the birthday in late April, especially if they know there's a goalpost on that day. It's the behavior over time that counts. If they're still messaging you, requesting FaceTime calls, and calling you unreasonable despite you clearly saying you want no contact, you could begin a tally, 1 point for each request, and when it's X amount of points, they'll have their timeout extended because they obviously don't understand boundaries yet. OP, that's great advice. We don't want to go no contact, but we will if our boundaries are disrespected. Knowing my father, a tally wouldn't be well received. I'm doing my best to avoid turning this into a bigger fight, but that kind of system would probably make things worse. It might be worth a shot, though. I'll talk to my husband about it. Comment 2, thanks for the update. You are doing the right thing and are prepared if your father and Sasha keep trying to push against your boundaries. Make sure anyone who might take their side is fully aware of the consequences of trying to mediate or help them. OP, thankfully, no one's taking their sides. At most, my sister said I'd been cruel to them. Comment 3, I see so many cases of women being arrested for inappropriate sexual relationships with minors that I'm dead convinced any adult who fixates on a child like that has bad intentions, regardless of gender. You 100% made the right choice, and I would highly advocate for not leaving your children, but especially your daughter, alone with her or letting her have unsupervised contact. Thank you for being an advocate for your children and what makes them comfortable. OP, neither of my kids have ever been alone with Sasha. She's tried to offer babysitting services before, but we always say no. My son doesn't like her, and my daughter will usually do whatever he does. Update 2, May 3, 2024, 2 months later. Last time I posted here, I mentioned that my father and Sasha wouldn't see my children until my younger sister's birthday. The party took place last weekend, and we didn't attend. These 2 months of no contact worked fine, but not great. My father respected my wishes, to my surprise, but Sasha kept trying to find ways to talk to my children. She'd call me under the guise of needing to ask me something, only to later say, "By the way, are the kids around? I want to say hi." Every time she tried that, I'd remind her of what I'd told her back in March. This must have happened almost a dozen times, which was enough for my husband and I to SD. After speaking to our kids, we decided not to go. They both said they missed my father, but clearly didn't want to see Sasha. We thought about attending and just distancing them from her while there, but risking making our children uncomfortable wasn't worth it. My son even asked if we could see their aunt somewhere else, without Sasha around. Art debating on skipping the party. My husband and I explained the situation to my sister. She was upset, but mostly because she hadn't seen the kids in a while. We all went to dinner at her favorite restaurant the day after her party. I also called my father and told him we wouldn't go to the birthday party. He reacted better than I expected, but we still had a short fight about it. He claimed that I had promised we'd let Sasha see the kids after 2 months, called me unfair, and said he was entitled to have a relationship with his grandchildren. Though I tried to sugarcoat it at first, I eventually gave him the truth. My kids don't want to see his wife, and I won't force them to. My father and I had a long talk. I told him how much Sasha's actions on the Disney trip upset my children, as well as how uncomfortable me and my husband felt. I admitted I don't trust his wife at all, and I don't think I ever truly will. He said that while he still thought I was overreacting, he understood I wanted to protect my kids. My dad also told me about how these 2 months of no contact were for them. Apparently, Sasha started talking about my kids, mostly my daughter, a lot more than usual. She'd mention things and places she thought they would like. My father was aware of one of the times she called me, but thought it was a one-time thing. She wanted to give my daughter a gift at my sister's birthday party, but he said he didn't know why. At one point, she told him she wanted to plan another family vacation with the kids, even though I told them they're not traveling with Sasha anymore. Learning all of that just made me more certain that I can't trust this woman around my children. For now, I intend to remain in loose contact with my father and no contact with Sasha. My daughter told me she wanted her grandpa at her birthday party a few weeks from now, so I told him that he was invited, but Sasha wasn't. He agreed. To be honest, I don't trust my father after all of this. I'm allowing him to come because that party will take place at my home, which is easier for me to control. If he tries to bring Sasha, they'll both be kicked out, and it will take a long time for me to consider letting him near my kids again. My father hasn't told me how his wife is reacting to this. My sister told me that during her party, Sasha asked her to tell me she wanted to talk. I'm not reaching out to her, nor do I plan to respond if she attempts to contact me. Both me and my husband have blocked her. My children are doing great. They still talk about how much fun they had at Disney. My daughter's been saving money, by putting coins in her piggy bank, for us to go back. On a completely different note, I'm pregnant again. This was completely unplanned. I always said I wanted 2 kids at most, and the third would have to be a huge accident, but my husband and I are ecstatic. I'm still in the first trimester, so not a lot of people know. We're brainstorming ways to tell our kids. Overall, I'm happy with my life right now. And as much as I wish this Sasha situation had never happened, I feel like a better parent after dealing with it. I have never been more confident in my abilities to protect my children than I am now. I don't think I'll update again anytime soon. Once again, thank you for all the support you've given me. I wish you the best. Every time I read this story, I'm glad OP stands up for her kids. So many adults don't listen to kids, especially kids that young. So huge props to OP for listening. I do wonder if OP's dad will try to bring Sasha to the birthday party, but I guess only time will tell. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.